Hey kids, welcome to Lesson 1, Buttons and Events, Part 2, Lesson 4, Adding Images in Design Mode. Now this is fun. Today we're going to learn about two different ways we can actually put images into our app. And if you look down here on the start of your screen, you can see we can use a uploaded image, and we can do that two ways. We can either upload this via your desktop, or we can use a URL to point our image out. I'd really caution you against doing that. URLs change a lot, and our filters for the school do some funky things here. So really, I would get in a habit of just downloading your image and having a copy of it around just in case something does happen for the future. Another way you can do it is using pre-loaded icons. These are just a bunch of little fun little things here loaded into Code.org's app manager, and you could use one of those too if you just want to play around. Let's go ahead and see what we have in store for us in this lesson. Adding an image and making a chaser game. Sounds like fun. Now you try it. Add an image to your app and modify the code so that the image jumps around the screen rather than a button. Your little game should have text on the top of the screen with a title or instructions for what to do. An image that runs away or moves randomly based on some mouse event. We have some hints here. Hint, the easy way to do this is simply change the IDs on the on event and set position to respond to the image instead of the button. Remove the button from the app after the image is working. We don't need it anymore. Change the label of text so the instructions make sense for your game. And the game is even more fun when you use mouse over instead of click. If you get all of that done and we still have some more time to work, there are some extensions for this lesson. You can make the background interesting, add another image that runs away, see what happens when the hide element and show element commands are used, or have two UI elements where interacting with one controls or does something to the other. Finalize your Chaser game version 1 and click Finish. Note, we're going to revisit this game in the next lesson where you can improve it. This is just version 1. We have an example game up here. This one is Click the Banana. It looks like anytime the pointer goes over the image of a banana, the banana moves. That's a pretty fun little game. I definitely would play it. First thing we need to do here really is to come up with a theme for our game. I'm not really sure what to use yet. I think I want to look through the icons and see what inspires me. Let's go ahead and go to the Design tab right here. How do we get to the icons? Well, it's under the Image button. We click on that and drag that into the screen. In the Properties box down here, if we go over to Image, we can hit Choose. You can see if you were in class today, the lesson I used had the late bell schedule. I'm going to go with Icons right here. I'm going to scroll through here and see what stands out to me. You can see we have a bunch of different stuff. There's chat boxes. There's some chemistry stuff. There's a Reddit alien. Looks like Yelp, PayPal, bunch of stuff. Ooh, little puppy paws. I think I like this rocket right here. I'm going to click on this rocket and you can see it just gets popped into my screen. Once I got this in here, my move it, I no longer need. So I am going to get rid of it. How do we do that? We just drag it off the screen. Now that I got a theme here, I need to change my instructions and my label up here. How do I do that? Click on the label. In the Properties box, I can come down here and you can see I have my text right here. Instead of trying to catch a button, now we're trying to catch a rocket. So I'm going to put rocket in there. It's no longer school color time. Let's go to black. Black is the absence of color, so it is 0000 in our hex. Same color right there. I am pretty happy. I think I want to increase the font a little more. Let's go 18. Let's make sure my text is centered, so I'm going to make sure it is centered in there. And then I'm going to make my width a nice even number of 230 and my height of 25. Now that we have our width and height set, let's go ahead and center this box. We know that the whole entire thing is 320 pixels. 325 in half is 170. We have a width of 230. Half of 230 is 115. So if we take 170 minus 115, that gives us an X position of 55. So I'm going to put that right there. The Y position, it looks like it's about 25 there. Looks pretty good right there. I think that'll give us a nice round number of 60. Actually, let's move it up a little. We don't want to take up too much of our screen. Position still 55, Y position 15. That looks pretty good to me, nice and centered. Let's go ahead and click on our rocket. Let's look through the properties here. It is 100 by 100. Let's go ahead and make sure when we start our game that the rocket is centered. These are pretty easy numbers to work with. 170 minus 50 is 120, so we want to make the X position 120. Let's take care of our Y position. Half of 450 is 225. The object is 100 in high, so that half of that is 50. 225 minus 50 is 175. So our Y position should be 175. That means every time that the game starts, the rocket will be right in the center. Let's go back and take a look at our code here. We have a couple things we have to do. Let's move around and adjust to our new image size here. So the random numbers, these are our X and Y coordinates. So anytime you click it, it's going to go anywhere from 0 over right now 275. We only need to do half of that. So 320 minus 50 is 270. So we want our maximum number in the X position to be 270. We have to do the same thing to the Y. But we have two numbers we have to adjust. Up here, we want to make sure it's the same thing. Let's take a little off of our Y starting point of 50. That means it cannot start anything higher than 50. We never want our rocket to cover up our instructions. 450 minus 50 is a pretty easy 400. So that means every time I click run and click on my object, it should never cover my instructions or fully go off screen. Let's go ahead and test this. Hit run. Oh, we have a warning here, a syntax error. What did I do wrong? It says the ID parameter move button doesn't exist. Oh, if we go back here, this is still referring to the button that we deleted. So we have to change the ID. Let's go back to design. The ID right now is image 1. We want our ID really to be something meaningful. This is a rocket, so let's name it rocket. We go back to our code. We are going to click our event to be rocket now. So I'm going to change it to rocket on both sides. This is a good opportunity to make sure we look through the rest of the code. Oh, I still have my parameters here of different sizes. Let's take these off for 1 second, and we'll come back to those in a minute. So right now my code will just have my rocket moving around the screen. Let's go ahead and hit run and click on it. There we go. Rocket's going all around the screen. That seems like a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and add our size parameters back. If you remember, the set position here is width and height. I'm going to collapse this for a second to work with these numbers. Oops, I forgot to drag in my random number here. You have to make sure we can see it. Random number, one there, and the second one there. Random number, it's 100 by 100 right now. Let's do the same thing we did last time. We never wanted to go below half its size, and then we'll double the size on the maximum. 100 doubled is 200, so that's 50 by 200. Now when I hit run, the rocket should go to a different position and a different size. Look how fun that is, going all around the screen. Whoop, we have a bug here. What's the bug? Well, we made our image a lot larger now, and we had it only for the maximum of 100. So we have to go back and change some of our X and Y positions to make sure that doesn't happen. Really easily, we're going to just double it up now. We could take 50 more off of this since of that. So this should be 220. And our Y should be 350. This should ensure now that it never goes off the screen. Let's hit reset run. That was a fun logical error though. And you can see now it's not really popping off at all. Very fun little game. Let's take a look at these optional extensions. First one is to make the background more interesting. Well, I agree we could definitely make this more interesting. I think something a little more spacey looking, which would be pretty cool. Well, how are we going to do that? Let's go to design. I think if I click on the screen, oh, here we are. We have a screen ID. We can also upload an image. Let's go ahead and hit choose. Let's upload a file. Our file here has CS. Let's go ahead and click on that. We're going to choose that image and it loads it up there. Ooh, that looks very fun. So my rocket now is going around space. Rocket's kind of hard to see as black. Maybe I could change the color of the rocket. Let's go down here. Icon color I can absolutely change. White up here, or I can just do my hex color. That looks a little easier to read. Maybe up here on my rocket, I don't actually need a background at all, or I could change it to white. I could flip these and then change my text color to black. That makes it a little easier to see. I don't think I actually even need a background color. How do I get rid of that? Well, I can come down here and change the opacity all the way off. So now you can just see the text here, and the text I think would definitely look better as white. I think I have a couple too many F's, but it's reading it. I'm happy with that. If I hit run, my rocket's blasting all over the solar system. Don't get too close to the sun. Very fun little game. We can add another image that runs away. Let's hit reset. And let's click on my rocket. And let's duplicate a rocket. I'm going to call this one Rocket 2. Go back to my code here. Instead of click, let's do mouse over. So anytime the mouse is over one of these, it should work. But this is only code for one of them. I can Control C, Control V, and change the ID from Rocket to Rocket 2 and Rocket 2 here. They'll both start on the middle, but if I hit run, you can see every time I go over. Ooh, that is a lot of fun right there. Let's hit reset. Let's have my one rocket start down a little bit from that one. So let's click on my design. Let's go down here, drag this rocket down right there. So now that I have two rockets not overlapping, hit run. They're flying around, having a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and see what happens when we use the command hide element and show element. This is actually a pretty good example here because we have two rockets right now, one stacked on top of each other. And really it does us no good to have them both start right at the same position because you can only see one. So this is a good spot to use hide and show element. First thing I'm going to do here is drag my hide element, and we want to click down and we want to do rocket 2. Now here's where we can do some pretty fun stuff. Right now when rocket 2 is clicked, the rocket will go to a random position. But we could also have it show rocket 2. So anytime rocket 1 is clicked, it'll show rocket 2 at the beginning of the game. Rocket 2 though, let's change it so anytime the mouse is over it, it will move to a random position. Let's hit run here. You'll see I click, one of them's moving randomly, and the other one won't move until I click. So that's a pretty helpful little feature. I can also make this a little more complex. Let's try something a little different here. I'm going to copy and paste this event right here. And I'm going to have it set that anytime the mouse is over rocket 1, it'll move. Now it says though, if I click on rocket 2, it should end up bringing up rocket 1. Now these are the same color here, so let's just go to design real quick. Let's click on rocket 1 here, and let's just change the color a little of it. Let's make it a little yellow, nice dull yellow so we know what it is. Put our rocket back on there, go back to our code. Let's make sure it is on rocket 1 here. So we have 2 rocket 1s, 2 rocket 2s. Rocket 2 is hidden until rocket 1 is clicked. Let's hit run. There's that. Now, if I get lucky and click, oh, there I did it, to our rocket 2 and 1 is going. Let's try that again. So again, anytime my mouse is over it, I get lucky and click on it while it's doing it, then rocket 2 comes into the game. That makes it pretty fun. Looking back at my extensions, I put a background in, I added another image that runs away, I used the hide and show elements, and my 2 elements didn't interact with each other because I had to click on one to bring the other one up. I think that finalizes all of my requirements for this. Let's go ahead and finish and see what code.org says. Good job, kids. I'm going to see you on the next lesson.